Hey everybody, welcome to another gear review. Today I'm going to talk about my Komodo cage setup and the different kind of rigs and setups I've tried to kind of rig it up. There's a lot of different options out there, and my main one I've settled on after trying a few different things is the Tilta cage. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things I like about it. So to start, just cosmetically, it's kind of cool looking. Obviously, you know, for those with the Stormtrooper, the white option is nice. There's some other cages that you can also get in white. It's not the only one. It does just have a nice kind of rugged look to it. It's kind of nice protection all the way around. It's got rosettes, 4 rosettes, 2 on each side. One thing I was initially worried about with the design is whether or not it would accommodate the kipper tie revolver mount, because from the pictures it looked like the little logo section on the top plate might protrude too far and hit the revolver, and I'm happy to say it doesn't. The mount works just fine with it. There's just you know, a couple millimeters, maybe 1 millimeter, just a little bit of clearance there. You're able to get the cartridge in and out. You can spin it just fine. So happily those do work together. I'm also a fan of the, so both sides, the little ridges, the little ribs on either side are NATO rails. And I'm a big fan of their wooden side grip. I've got the right side grip. It's just a simple NATO lock. And it's a really comfortable grip. I like wooden grips. I've used a wooden grip on my Helium for a really long time. Actually prefer it to the Global Dynamics United grips as well, which I'll talk about a little more in a second. I do recommend getting the adjustable top handle. In addition to the kind of the basic kit comes with this the standard top handle, which is kind of like evenly split with the joint right in the middle. For me personally, I'm not crazy about that design because it's kind of hard to grab. You have to kind of split your fingers in a weird way. I'd rather, you know, that split be just at the front finger. You know, if it was cocked a little one way or the other instead of being an even split, I think it'd be a more comfortable grip. So I don't really use that as much. It's a hot shoe with a locking screw. And another thing that's kind of weird about that is it only works on the top mount because it's the only place with a hot shoe. Unless I put it on the other handle, which would be stupid. And it sucks that you can't mount it to the side and use it as a side handle as well. It won't work with rosettes or anything, so you can really only use this on the top mount of the camera. It is cool, it's got this push button, so you can twist it different ways, which is nice. But again, I don't think it's a particularly comfortable grip. On the other hand, I really like the adjustable top mount, which is this one I've got on here right now. It can screw into any of the rosettes, but it's got a weird kind of right angle. It allows you to switch it into 4 different positions. So you can mount it to the front. I mean, some of these are kind of strange, but I've actually found I really like them. In particular, putting it to the back, it kind of almost gives it like this weird sort of like machine gun vibe. It's kind of a nice crossbar, and it's got little finger ridges. It makes it a lot more comfortable than the other mount. You can also put it at the front, and it gives you some nice leverage. I know it's an unusual way, and there's not a lot of other handles that face that way, but I think it's actually rather comfortable, and it gives you kind of an offset forward handle when you got a bigger lens like this one on there. It's also got hot shoes on both sides. So what you can do is you can unscrew these 2 screws right here and slide it forward or slide it back. So you could have it more to the back or more to the front, which is nice. I like to put it all the way to one side and then push the monitor forward with it. My only complaint with it is, even though it has those 4 different kind of locking pivot positions, it doesn't 100% secure in place. It has a little bit of flex. Where I feel like it's not that it's gonna come apart or that the adjustability is gonna come loose. It's just that when it's locked in place, it has this little bit of give. but it's still sturdy. It's not gonna like break on you. It's just like a slight like engineering thing where it would have been nice if that tolerance was a little tighter right there. So that's the only thing about it that's a little unfortunate. And then I can't get it to, actually can't get it to be perfectly straight, but when it's just resting in place, it's either leaning ever so slightly forward, or it's leaning, if I adjust it by 1 degree on the rosette, then it's hanging back just ever so slightly. So it's never quite perfectly parallel with the camera plane. It's either just a hair back or a hair forward. That's another kind of strange thing. But it holds onto the cage well. Everything else feels secure. And otherwise, I think it's a much better top handle than the standard top handle that comes with the cages. The monitor mount's really nice. It allows you to pivot as well as go front and back. Another thing that's a little strange is it's got those little holes that you can stick an Allen wrench into to extra tighten it, but the size of the hole on the hot shoe portion versus the monitor portion is a different size Allen wrench, which is just kind of inconvenient. That if you really want to tighten it really good, you got to use 2 different Allen wrenches. I did buy the rear V-mount plate kind of as just a emergency backup. I always like to have more than one battery option just in case something fails or you never know what's going to happen on set. So I did purchase the V-mount plate. It works. It's not Red approved, which means basically just it works fine. It'll give you a little warning that it's not Red approved, and it won't show you time remaining on the battery. So you just got to watch the voltage, and as the voltage drops, you know it's going to power down at some point. So you may have to do like a trial and error and figure out what that point is just so you can monitor it. But on the flip side, whenever you're using a standard V-mount battery to power the Komodo, it's usually going to be powering it for several hours on end, depending on the size you use. It's useful, especially if you're having trouble getting the Canon batteries. Red is now making their own BP 955 batteries, as is Blue Shape. So there are other companies making them now. They should be more available soon. They're still the best, in my opinion, the best batteries to use. Mainly because they're small, they're hot swappable. So when one gets low, you can pop it off, pop a fresh one on, just to kind of keep everything at top power levels. And they just give you a good amount of clearance on the back. So when mounting it on the Ronin S2 or something, they're not sticking way out. Or once you have a V-mount battery with the V-mount plate, even a small one like this, you're sticking out by at least another 1.5 inches, maybe almost 2 inches further out. I don't know if you can see that. So, as far as small and light, and depending on the camera system you're coming from, these 2 BP 9055s give you 3 hours of battery on the Komodo, which is insanely good compared to the battery consumption on the bigger Red cameras. That's what I'm coming from. So to me, these are like, 2 of these, running for 3 hours is like a dream come true. Some people want to be able to run all day without touching the battery. That's fine, but they're so small that it's really easy to keep a couple extra ones in your bag. With 6 of these, you can run all day. So I just stick with these. It sort of seems how it was designed to be used. I guess that's about it. It's a relatively compact cage. It doesn't add that much more size to the Komodo, which is important. You want to keep it small, but it adds the functionality of handles where you need them. And it works with the Revolva. It has a little lens adapter plate at the bottom that screws perfectly into the Revolva foot mount. You got to get the little foot mount with your Revolva, but it screws right in, gives you that extra security with the EF mount. So there's no give in the mount, which is nice. So super tight mount. But this is actually the 3rd configuration I've used. So some of the other things I've tried, I've used the Red side handle for the Komodo, which has the start-stop button. I do really like that handle. It's the same handle that works on the Red DSMC2 side handle. So I've been using that side handle forever on my DSMC2 camera. I've replaced the rubber grip with the Global Dynamics United wooden grip. I really like their wooden grips. So there's something nice about the familiarity between the two cameras when I've got that side handle on there. It's a nice long grip and gives you a nice firm handle on it, especially if you don't have anything else on the camera. It's kind of a nice balance. And the start and stop is nice. But it is kind of thick. It does work with the Revolva, but it's got a thick top, I guess, for the electronics. And they do miss, coming from the DSMC2 cameras, I do miss the extra control functionality of the scroll wheel and being able to do more than just start and stop. So for just start and stop, it seems, I don't know, I'm just accustomed to being able to do more. So for this big of a handle to only have that one button, the trade-offs aren't 100% there for me, but I keep it around in case there are situations where I just want to be super lightweight and kind of one-handed. Global Dynamics United, which is kind of a spin-off company from Red that makes their accessories. They also make what are called Timmy Ribs. I'm not sure what or who they're named after, but these little thin side rails that are super low profile that just add, little cheese plate screws along the sides for simple mounting. So if you're just going to put just want to attach like a NATO rail or something to put handles on, you can attach those to the ribs. It's great for a super low profile mount, but it's also somewhat limited in what all you can attach. And then I've also tried out the Global Dynamics United stubby wooden handles that they make. So these are nice. These are called the Derringers, like the gun, because it's a little small rounded shape. Which is, I think maybe they leaned a little too much into the trying to be cool or badass over, form over function a little bit. It's while I love the wooden handle on the bigger mount and I use it on the DSMC2 Red, this little tiny size, I really don't like the lack of a place to put your pinky. It fits in your palm well, but it's hard to, when you got one on each side, it balances okay, but it's hard to carry for a long period of time. And if you have a long lens, it doesn't give you much leverage. They also have some with an extended bar that kind of shoots it forward a little bit. But I got these to be super low profile. I've really tried to like them, I guess. I've kept them on there and kind of tried to train my grip a little bit for it. But it's just a little irritating that there's just not a pinky groove to rest your pinky in. Puts weird pressure on your pinky. I know it's a weird thing to say, but and also it makes you wonder, because even with those on, the camera still isn't flush. So it's not like they cut it off and made it super short so that the camera would sit flush on the ground, because with these on, it still sits at a tilt when you set it on a table. So I'm not sure what the rationale there for not having just like another inch of grip on there would be. And yeah, I think the Tilta cage is actually really well designed. It's what I go back to. You can have it all kitted out like this with the rails for your follow focus. You can also, it's easy enough to take off the top handle and the side handles, take it off the rails and have a smaller rig that you don't have to take the whole cage off. Like if you're going on a gimbal or something, it doesn't add that much weight to where I feel like I got to take the cage off when I'm trying to make a lightweight gimbal setup. So I like that about it too. It can pretty much live on the camera pretty safely, and it helps kind of protect it. The only thing I'm really missing, and it's just as much a flaw, I guess, of the Komodo design being so small, is there's not a lot of room to like attach stuff on the outside. Like I've got my tentacle sync box, which has built-in Velcro in the back and has a little Velcro strip. And the only place I could rationally think of to put it was on the NATO rail under that mount, but it doesn't give it quite enough surface to stick on very well. So I've still got to figure out a solution of where I can stick this. I'll probably try to figure out some kind of airy rosette mount for it, stick it on the back or something. But there's just not a lot of room on the Komodo itself or the cage to flush mount something like that, even though it's a pretty small box. So yeah, that's the only thing. So hopefully this was helpful if you're somebody in the market for a Komodo. Obviously all this stuff comes in black too. That's the normal. I just have the white stuff because it's fancy. If you have any questions about these cages or other cages, this is the only actual other cage I've used aside from the Timmy Ribs that I've put on the side, which aren't quite a full cage. I think in most cases you're going to want something on your Komodo because, you know, the basic cube design is pretty hard to rig out with stuff. I do have some other Tilta accessories coming soon. I bought some of the Ronin S2 stuff that they've been making. So stay tuned for some of that stuff when it comes in, hopefully in the next month or so. We'll be testing more Tilta stuff. I'm kind of new to Tilta. I haven't used any of their stuff on my helium camera before, but I have liked their newer products so far. You know, I know shipping times have been a little weird with their pre-orders, and there have been some waits if you're willing to wait for stuff. I think the Komodo cages should be pretty readily available now though, so I think they came out pretty good. I like them. So if you like this review, please subscribe or comment, let me know, and ask questions. If there's things I have that would be useful for me to do other videos on, I'll try to do them. If not, then don't.